All right, welcome to Hot Route Takes. Today we're going to do a little bit of a dive into the running back market and kind of give our thoughts on what we think is going on, who we think should get paid, and who we think might not should get paid. But we did want to touch on a couple of things that happened in the news recently and some contract extensions and things of that nature. And one of them is your boy, Christian. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, Justin Herbert got paid, now the top paid quarterback in the NFL. I think until maybe Joe Burrow's contract, but as a Chargers fan, I'm happy this deal got done. We got a guy that we know we're getting for, 5 years, $262.5 million contract extension until 2029. I think honestly, even after this contract, this guy's going to be a Charger for life. So I'm happy his deal's done. That's something we ain't got to worry about. He's there to stay. We're focused on the future from here on out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a great deal for both sides, obviously. Um, as Christian touched on, it's something that's not going to be hanging over. Like Herbert wasn't immediately questioned about any type of wanting out scenario like I've been dealing with Lamar for however long it felt like. I've been reading and hearing about contract extensions with Lamar since he really won MVP. It feels like. So the earlier you can get these things nailed down and a GM reward a player that's the face of a franchise, the better for the team, for the player, for the locker room, really. So that I'm excited for you. It's smart to get it done and get the money now because the longer you wait, as you talked with Burrow, it could just lead to even more. Each domino that falls, the market usually resets. So it's a good deal for both sides, and I'm excited to watch these young AFC quarterbacks just duke it out for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I was a little bit surprised. I thought maybe they give him the Patrick Mahomes type contract
As
because
far as
really, man,
length, as far as
yeah,
length,
because
yeah,
length.
yeah,
Because with a quarterback, you kind of know Justin Herbert's a guy. You know
mm-hmm.
it. You
Yeah,
know it, and he's proven durability. I think those longer contracts, because the cap goes up each year, you can really get some tremendous value long term with it. And
mm-hmm.
you know, I think Herbert was a candidate for that. There's other guys out there I wouldn't say are. Like I wouldn't say Tua, obviously, right, because of the injury concerns, but Herbert's definitely a guy. But there were some other big contracts that were handed out today. Did you guys see the Andrew Thomas contract? He got the bag.
Yeah.
He
That's
got
another premium position you pay when there's a good one.
for sure. He and Titus Howard, another tackle that got paid, but
Mm-hmm.
5 years, $117.5 million extension, 67 million guaranteed. You know, Andrew Thomas, he's a stud too. Is there any other ones y'all want to touch on?
I'll jump off what you said with the length, the contract length for Herbert, and maybe just point out that I feel it feels to me that would be a Herbert decision taking a shorter term deal to line himself for another payday. If I had to guess, I don't think the team would have had any problem going long term, and it's just such a contrast to what we're going to dive into in this podcast today with the running
Sure.
backs. Like when you know you got a guy at that position, a la Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, it's like hand them blank check. You write how many years you want and the number you want, and we'll make that happen. And it's just the biggest contrast between the what are the two biggest skill positions on offense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I can see that on Justin Herbert's side of things because I'm sure he's all confident as
Mm.
can be, and I'm sure he understands how the cap works and how it goes
Yeah.
up each year. So yeah, I know there's a few other guys like Cole Kmet got an extension today, but anyone Christian you want to talk about?
Aaron Rodgers, changed his deal to a 2 year, 75 million guaranteed contract. So, that answers questions on, is Aaron just a 1 year kind of guy? Is this going to be him after this season gone? The Jets kind of answer that with this contract being signed. They know they got him for 2 years. They can see how this year go and then do that final push next season.
Oh, you believe what he says, man? Aaron Rodgers.
No, it's guaranteed. It's done been signed. I believe it, man.
After this season, he gonna be going into his room of darkness and contemplate after he gets sacked all season long. But
I think he's going to put in that Super Bowl trophy maybe in that room and it shine a little bit little sunshine in that
Oh,
darkness.
oh. Uh, that means they're taking out the Chargers, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you sign a guy like that, you plan Super Bowl bust. That's what I mean. I hope the Chargers win, but you go get a guy like Aaron, that's what you want. Same thing with like Brady when he signed, the age he was.
Tampa,
You get them
hmm
old veteran guys. Their goal ultimately is a Super Bowl this year.
for sure. For sure, they're playing for short term.
Yeah,
Still kind of crazy to me that they went all in like that on the quarterback with such a young team, but I kind of get it. They needed to it. Their jobs were on the line, the GM and the head coach, so they did what they had to do. And I am interested to see what Zach Wilson does after sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 years. Wonder if he'll develop his game a little bit. Um, but should we get into the running backs?
oh, I got one
Yes.
last little thing that
Yeah.
kind of surprised me. So Jimmy Graham signed back with the Saints. Kind of crazy because he kind of went, I guess, missing is a good way to put it. Didn't even know this guy was out of the league, to be honest with you. Then he signed out of nowhere the other day. So I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what he does with Derek Carr there, just because we seen Derek Carr with a tight end that's a top level tight end, and how much
Mhm.
he pushes the ball with the tight end. I'm kind of wanting to see what that kind of looks like this year.
Yeah, that's what's the last we saw of Jimmy? Was it Green Bay or Seattle? Like I can't even. We all know
I
New
couldn't tell
Orleans
you.
Breeze. That was like him dunking
Yeah,
goalposts. That was prime him. But after that, the fall off was like so quick. And I
was it
want to say when
Chicago?
yeah, he was in Chicago too, man. He's bounced around, and like Christian said, I kind of almost just thought he was out the league. So
Yeah,
that's an interesting move. I like you bring that up, Christian. It could the Saints in that division. That's my pick to win the division, and they've got a veteran team, and they're adding another. So we'll see how that works.
their cap situation. That was probably the cheapest tight end on the market. So,
Yeah, oh, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
um, any other news topics?
Nah, I think that's it.
That's it,
All right.
guys.
So as far as running backs go, where do y'all want to start this? Because it's obviously a layered issue. It's pretty complex. Uh, Barkley got his deal after this whole shebang with the Zoom call meetings and getting together and talking about running backs being unjustly paid. He signed a deal that was about $1 million more than what he would have gotten. That's incentive based. So, I mean, I guess he kind of got what he wanted, but with all the talk that was going on, talking about he'd sit and they would see his value, and then they bring in James Robinson. This man went and had signed.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about y'all, but maybe we can start it out and just bounce off. Do we think paying good running backs is a good idea as far as team building, as far as GM philosophy,
Yeah.
and what do those numbers look like? That's where I would start it.
Okay. Do you want to touch on that first, Christian?
You go ahead. I just kind of see where you're at, and then I kind of.
Okay. So I think to pay a running back, you have to be in a position to win first and foremost. Like right now, if I'm the Raiders and I'm being honest with myself, I'm not paying Josh Jacobs because I don't think I'm in a position to win now. But a player like Barkley, even with the injury concerns, he had a large share of that offense just being successful, and he's a large part of why it worked more so than I think Daniel Jones. I think Barkley's at least even with him as far as
Mhm.
offense productivity and what he means to the offense and all of that. But I do think running backs have to have a very special trait to stand out because, in my opinion, growing up, playing youth league sports, playing middle school and high school, all that good stuff, your best athlete was normally the running back, the
Mhm.
best one. And so your best athlete from a young age, naturally gifted, is going throughout the years playing that position. And what ended up happening is the talent pool for running backs was so much good running backs out there. And so your top end running backs may give you just this much more production, but at what cost?
Mhm.
And then you add in the injury issues that running backs face. So if it was me, I'm not paying a back, um, just for the simple fact you can find 80% of a top tier back in the third round of the NFL draft.
Mhm.
And so value wise, you're trying to build a team. It's a market.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a market as a running back, and it's just simply supply and demand. Your supply is up here right now, and your demand is here.
Yeah.
So, and it's a passing league. Things have been changing over the years. However, one thing I will say from the team building perspective, as the NFL has moved towards a passing league in general over the last decade or so, the defenses have also moved towards a passing defense. So, in turn, you have smaller linebackers who are better at playing in space. You got more athletic, maybe less built defensive tackles that are more geared towards rushing the passer. And so what ends up happening is you know, blend towards playing against the pass defensively and not as much towards the run. So maybe the next ideological shift, something like Atlanta's doing, is building an offensive line out that's elite and putting a back behind them that's big, fast, and durable. And that's what they've done. I'm a big fan of Atlanta and what they're doing, and I think it's going to be something special this year potentially. And so it's hard to tackle big guys. So get a big back.
No, I'm with you on a lot of that, Brian. I mean, you've hit on pretty much everything philosophy wise that I think I would say as far as whether or not to pay a running back. I'm kind of experiencing this with my team right now with JK right now. He was part of this whole group that's saying running backs deserve to be paid more. And as much as I do feel for these guys because the good ones are leaned on so heavily. Like you don't want to say taken advantage of because at the end of the day, the team's about winning and getting your ball to your best player. Like you said, all through their life is the best athlete on the field most of the time. That's part of winning, but it just wears them down quicker, man. They hit a wall so much earlier than every other position, and the downfall can be so quick, and it can be very drastic to where they're not even like it's more of a negative to play them than help your team win football games. So that alone is like, why do I invest in that position when I have to worry about the great QB play? I need to pay great pass rushers. I need to pay great shutdown corners. All these other things that you should be prioritizing a little bit more, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it boils down to for me. There's other positions that the demand or the supply, as you were saying, it's not what it is with the running backs. Finding a good pass rusher in a draft doesn't happen every year. The ones you draft could end up just falling on their face. Whereas Kansas City goes out and gets Isaiah Pacheco late in the draft, and he's their lead running back for a Super Bowl winning team. So it doesn't supplement winning the way that other positions do, and that's what's hurting them because that didn't used to be the case. It was all about leaning on that great rushing attack, and I've seen offensive great rushing attacks with this Lamar-led offense the past few years. End of the day, man, playoff football, you want to be good at it, but the league is just geared towards passing, and to keep up with some of the great offenses and everything like that, that's what you should be building your team around, in my opinion. So I'm happy to see the Ravens kind of get away from that. And with this J.K. Stallmate, I hope they hold firm. He hasn't been on the field enough to really reward a payday yet. So just stand your ground. I know might rub all the other running backs the wrong way, just the way this thing is going. But I mean, it's the right business decision.
I agree with you. How old was J.K. Dobbins? 24, 25?
He was rookie year was 2020, so he's probably like 25, 26, if that.
Yep, 25 probably in that ballpark. So
I mean, he's got good years left. There's no doubt about it. He's got great years ahead of him, and especially if healthy, because I've seen the talent. It's very good player, man. He does a lot for you out the backfield, but you can't sacrifice your future team building for a long-term contract for a guy that can just so easily be replaced with a late round. Like, you might not get JK level production, but you can get enough, as you saw, to win plenty of football games and late round draft picks in the running back market.
Exactly, especially when it's the secondary piece of your offense in most cases.
Yep.
But Christian?
I mean, I agree and disagree, believe it or not. I've like looked into this deeper and deeper as we talked about this, and I side a little bit with the running backs at this point, believe it or not, just because I mean, a lot of these guys get, that rookie contract. They come in and play, I mean, at least 4 years. Then you can pick up their 5th-year option. They play on it. Then you get franchise tag back to back, and with their salary
That's
being
only
as low
first
as it
round
is.
picks.
Yeah.
Well, most of these running backs, though, more than likely, if they're getting this payday like they're arguing, all these guys are more than likely a first-round pick. And then they get tagged twice. So like Barkley, for example, he could have got tagged this year, and even Jacobs tagged this year. Had an insane year this year, and they just tagged him again instead of paying him that big contract. I think, honestly, one way they maybe can go about it is get rid of one of the tags, where you can only tag that guy once, or then he has to go to the market. And then, I mean, another thing that kind of blows my mind is we have guys like Derrick Henry, for example. We know what Derrick Henry is. He's been in the league for, 7 years. Okay. Derrick Henry's been in the league for 7 years. This guy's been rushing title leader, I think, back-to-back seasons. I mean, he has a crazy resume. His whole career right now, he's only set at $46 million total in his career. I mean, there's wide receivers getting a 3-year, 4-year contract making more than that.
Yeah.
Don't touch that production, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my only argument is certain running backs, yes. To then I can flip that and go, it's kind of what y'all were saying. Certain teams are built to pay for it and certain teams are not. So, for example, the Panthers were paying Christian McCaffrey all this money. He kept getting hurt, and what's crazy enough, when he was off the field and they didn't have to feed him because they were paying him, they averaged more yards during their games per attempt because they didn't have to feed this guy. So then, you send him off to a 49ers team that's built for a running back. I mean, that's the only piece they're missing over there. So then his production matches what he's getting paid because the team ultimately is ready to finance that running back and pay for him and have the team ready for him to get the stats.
Yep. Yeah, Christian, that's a really good point with Christian McCaffrey. And I think a lot of the reasoning behind that is in Carolina, they kind of knew what was coming, because they're going to force feed Christian McCaffrey the ball. And he played excellent, but, ultimately got hurt. And if he's not available, the contract's not there. And so in that environment, the money was not where it needed to be. It needed to be elsewhere for that team's offense to maximize itself. But in a situation like San Francisco, when they have all these layers to their offense, Christian McCaffrey's passing game ability was a huge bonus. I mean, it just added a whole another dynamic. And Shanahan is the best at scheming up screens and quick hitters. He's the best in the NFL when it comes to that. And so McCaffrey was like the ultimate piece to add to that offense. That was an excellent point, Christian. Do you have anything else to say regarding your philosophy?
No, I've kind of looked at the whole total contracts too, and I mean, you just be mind blown with some of the names that are at the bottom. But it's just because they go undrafted. Like Austin Eckler's, being a Chargers fan is a prime example of a guy that hasn't got paid because he went undrafted, and he's been just way better than what people thought he was going to be in the NFL. So then, I mean, as a Chargers fan, I think we should pay him just because you see what he does to this team. So that's where I argue some running backs should make that just because of the big difference they make on the team. I mean, to me, we're a team like that, and I look at the Saints, kind of like another team. Imagine that team without Alvin Kamara out there. We've seen that, and they're just not the same team. So that's why I just think you can base off of paying or not paying the running back in reality with what team are you talking about more so than what. To my argument pretty much I can say against what I'm saying is you look at the Cowboys and go, well, they had Zeke, they brought Tony Pollard in, and you can argue Tony Pollard was the better back.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to ask, Christian.
So then my other thing with that, though, is you also look at the Cowboys' offensive line, and I think they can honestly have any running back, and he's going to do pretty good out there. That's where I kind of
Yeah.
argue with the whole elite running back thing too. I mean, look at Philly for a prime example. Like they let Miles Sanders walk. They had no hesitation. You go get your payday. We can pay a guy $2 million, and he's going to do the same thing behind this O line that we
Well,
got.
man, I think they did awesome. DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny are going to eat.
Yeah,
I think
that's.
they'll
I
do
think that
better.
should be the philosophy for every team, man. Like, kind of at certain positions, you want to just build, set them up for success, and a great offensive line can do that for a running back, obviously. So if you do that, let them ball out. You, they're going to get paid by someone, some team. I think you have to be smart enough to make the decision that, okay, that player was set up for success. He did a great job in his role, but we shouldn't be making uh, emotional decisions in your team building and paying that guy for that. Like for us, we signed Gus Edwards to a 2-year, $9 million contract extension last offseason. That is such scraps for a running back, and I think this is why J.K. he's in a really tough boat here, because if he wants to play hardball with the Ravens, I think they're so content with letting Gus Edwards be running back one, and that's the Melvin Gordon signing as the insurance.
Yep.
They're so content with that, and a lot of teams kind of have that same scenario where they can lean on another really good running back, and that's reason enough not to go long term or big money on the position.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. So now do we want to kind of shift gears now that we've kind of established where our stance is with financials and team building and things like that to maybe a problem solving perspective and how maybe the NFL could fix this, or going forward how teams can adjust to compensate these running backs
Yeah,
fairly or
I
whatnot.
mean, it's no easy solution, but we can try to throw some
Yeah.
darts at it.
I got a couple ideas, but I kind of went first on the team building perspective. So, one of y'all want to lead off on the solution to this problem?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I've got no, chemistry foolproof formula for the thing, but I've heard talks of making the rookie contracts a year shorter than other guys, and we've all had this conversation off record plenty. Then you're treating the position different than every other position in the NFL. It's an interesting battle to look for the NFLPA. So, is that something you want to look at? I mean, it kind of makes sense, but then you gotta. I feel like it's more on the running backs themselves to kind of look in the mirror and say, all right, my position isn't regarded as a long shelf life position. So instead of seeking out long term security, as we've talked of, maybe work in those short term deals that are heavily incentive based. And when you hit those good marks, and as far as production and leading a team to a winning football team with the ground game, that could that seems like that would be a great solution to getting these guys paid, because a lot of them have the production, like the Saquons. They've been on the field, they have the production, and they've almost single handedly carried some bad football teams to some good winning records, right? So those type of players, maybe that's what the type of language they need to work into contracts. There's really no easy solution, because whatever you do, it can upset either the owners, it can upset other players in the NFLPA at certain positions. It's a tough road to navigate. But I mean, I did say it was a joke on Twitter, but if anyone said if you have a running back in youth football as your kid right now, make sure they switch positions immediately because like this doesn't seem like a problem that will go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Chase. Um,
Anything,
Man,
Christian?
thinking, and it's just like Chase said, it's kind of tough to kind of, what to say to fix it. My only idea is, I mean, you'd have to have a guy to kind of flip the market. I mean, that's what Christian Kirk kind of did for the wide receiver market. They weren't getting paid like that until he came along and flipped the market for them. So that's when, like I just said, Derrick Henry's total, I don't know. I think he's got at least, I know, another year under that contract, probably 2. I can't think off the top of my head, but
you don't think Saquon's a good enough player to flip the market, though? I mean, it seems like if there is a guy, I mean, if Zeke got paid, to me, the Zeke contract was just like the production Tony Pollard gave them and what they were paying Zeke made a lot of teams realize why do that? Why go long term, invest in that position when they literally drafted a better guy, developed him, and he was taking important snaps over him? So with Saquon, you don't have that type of guy behind him, but even he didn't get like a flip the market type deal. So it's a tough road to navigate for sure.
I mean, my only argument with the whole Barkley thing is just injuries. Like, I don't want to pay a guy that can't stay on the field. Now, I think that's how GM thinks. Definitely at the running back position. Like, I'm not going to pay this guy that's just he's done got hurt 2 years in a row now. So do you want to pay him this big contract and he not hit the field? And I think that's what the Panthers seen. Like, hey, we're not going to win for a while. Christian McCaffrey's just getting hurt. I say we just get rid of this guy because at the end of the day, we can pay this money and try to make this team better instead of spending on this position that we're just not ready for. That's why I think you have to get a guy that, one, can either break the market or kind of like y'all are saying, I don't think you can make it where the deals are shorter for the running back, to then you're just going to have a bigger problem at the end of the day. Then I've heard people say, well, you have to have 3 years of college, let them come in 2. But then you have a problem with that too, where you're kind of like these utility guys that you can say in college, like a Deebo Samuel will be a prime example. Say the running back market blows up and he's a wide receiver, why don't he just change his position to running back? And then he'd get that big contract because that's how the 49ers use him. So that's my kind of only argument with, I guess, how they can make it better is, I mean, you're going to have to guy to the NFL. We know at this point, the salary cap's just getting bigger and bigger. So eventually their market's going to grow, but it's just somebody's going to have to make it break for it to actually start going up.
Yeah. So I agree with what you guys are saying. I think in general, when you're looking at the running back market and you're looking at the NFL, I think you got to keep all the players on the level playing field in terms of how they are treated, how the money is handled. So I don't think taking a year off their deal coming out of college or just doing anything specifically to the running back position as far as financials go is a good idea. Because like you said, what's stopping so-and-so from saying he's a running back? Like Mike Gesicki, he was a tight end, classified as a tight end, but the dude was a receiver, right? And so when he got the franchise tag, he probably felt like he was screwed because the receivers make a heck of a lot more money on the franchise tag than tight ends do. And so that's kind of, a similar situation there. But I think some of the avenues you could approach to maybe help the running back position, because it's so injury related into why these guys don't get paid, like a Todd Gurley, for example, right? Todd Gurley got paid, and then he was shortly after league right after. You could give these guys deals, one like we were talking about, shorter deals, stipulated with incentives to get more money, and it could be actually, higher dollar amounts closer to what receivers get. But if they get hurt, they might get significantly less, like maybe even half, like significantly less, just because everyone knows the risk that running backs take every time they're on the field. But at the same time, the risk the teams make by paying them is the same. So it's a chicken and egg debate with that. You can go one way or the other. And then another idea that I've heard tossed around that I think is a really good idea in general is just throwing the franchise tag off the window altogether. Just throwing it out the window. So when guys come off their rookie deals, they either going to have to get paid by the team or move on and hit the open market. And that kind of would shorten running back deals, because right now running back knows he's going to finish his rookie contract, and if he's good, he's going to get franchise tagged, and if he stays healthy, he's going to get franchise tagged again. It's going to happen. And that's just the best way from a owner or GM perspective to keep a running back in-house that's good without overpaying them. So I think just throwing the franchise tag out the window would open the door for some of these backs to get bigger contracts, because we all know the NFL is a what can you do for me now league, not necessarily what you have done for us. And so that way, running backs probably should leave a little bit early coming out of college, maybe 20 years old, hit the NFL 20, 21, come out of that 25, 24 years old, and then get a 3-year deal or whatever worth, a little bit more than they would have had if they were 25, 26. So I think in general, the running back market is a tough situation for these guys. Like we said, supply's high and demand's low. It's a passing league. It's an injury-prone position. I mean, you just list them off, all the reasons why they shouldn't get paid. But then you look for all the reasons they should get paid. The beating they take, the production they handle, all the touches they get. I mean, it goes both ways. But I think if you're looking from a GM shoes, the guy that pulls the strings, makes the decisions, you kind of have to side with them, just because they're trying to win. They're not trying to do the right thing. So that's where my head is with the solution.
It's tough, man, because I'm not one to ever really want to sign with owners or GMs being cheap per se. I want players to get their paydays because they've worked their whole lives for these things, and especially when you make in the NFL, you give production. You want to see those guys rewarded, right? But it's hard to justify it at that position, man, because the fall off, the quickness that can happen, man, it's honestly heartbreaking. Like these guys are. I've seen some really great running backs in college even suffer 1 or 2 knee injuries and just never be the same. So
Marcus Lattimore, right?
That's the first. I wasn't even gonna name drop it for my own sake, but yeah, y'all see me. I'm a diehard Gamecock fan, and that's the best running back I've ever seen come through our program. And the guy suffered 2 major knee injuries in college, and just he never was the same. And now he's a running backs coach instead of, if those never happen, if that position's not that volatile, he gets to the league and he makes life changing amounts of money. And you see that with all these other positions and the fully guaranteed and the incentive base, signing bonuses, all this good chunk of change they can get, man. Maybe their best route is just be really good and look for endorsement money. I don't know, man. Like, it's tough, bro. It's so
That's
tough.
how Baker Mayfield made his money,
I was going to say, Baker's got 100 commercials and he's going to be like a backup in a year, probably. So, but he'll never have to worry about money again in his life because he's got Progressive commercials running for 10 years. So.
Hulu has live sports. Oh, man.
I have another idea, and y'all kind of tell me how you feel about this. I kind of just thought about it just now is, what if like since, college is so different, they have all these ACC, SEC, if they set like a certain touches and yards that you would have to reach, and then you go ahead and declare instead of your 3 years. For example, if you're in like the Big Ten, that mark would have to be a lot higher compared to maybe like the SEC, just because of talent on the field, of course. But you'd have to reach a certain number of attempts and yards, and you go ahead and declare. Instead of being, I don't know how you would do it, though, to then other positions, wide receiver, going, well, I have the same yards, but just not the attempts.
That's what I was going to say. It's very hard to alter the college game at any level now because that place, this is an NFL pod for the most part, and I think most of us consume NFL football way more, but the college just the landscape as a whole is so just not what I'm accustomed to, what I grew up with NILs and all these other things going on at the college level. Working in stuff like that just seems like overloading a ship full of problems. Yeah. It's got so many other things, but it's hard to find it, Christian. I like the ideas. It's just, where do you even go, man?
I think for certain, running backs should be looking to declare after their 2nd year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but I hate, now that Chase brought that up, he kind of hit on a good kind of thing that we hadn't even thought of, and I guess running backs in the NFL didn't get to benefit from it. But if you're a superstar running back in the college, it's kind of at this point maybe smarter to stay in college just because you know you're going to make that much more money by staying there. And then you know you'll get that big contract at maybe the end of your stint because you're going to be this so high throw out like running back to get picked in that top 10, top 15 to get another payday. So then you'll get your payday in college, and on top of that, your payday in the NFL, and then you just get your little contracts there on out. That might be something, maybe a temporary fix, I guess you could say, for the running back, is maybe these running backs tell these younger guys, hey, just stay in college, get your NIL money, and then you come to the NFL and get your rookie contract, and then see what happens and where you land.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just hard because the big marquee guys at other positions in college, the great college, like a Caleb Williams, a great college quarterback, he's making plenty of NIL money too, I'm sure. So it's not like you can single out running backs and pay them a little more. It's just based on, I'm sure he's been one of the highest touted running back prospects I've seen in a while. I'm sure he made good money in NILs and endorsements and whatnot. NFL money is just a little different. It's very different, especially when you hit your first big payday. And as we've talked about this whole pod, and not a lot of running backs, really good ones, are seeing that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I've kind of exhausted a lot of my talking points, guys. I don't really have much else to add to the running back market.
Yeah, we can really.
One little other thing, kind of. What you got? And then I can tell you what I got.
So mine is just like a team building question, specifically geared at the Chargers. So you have running backs who are known for, having to endure a beating, injury concerns, all of that stuff. But what about receivers that have injury concerns as well? Would you rather pay Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler a 4-year, $12 million, $15 million a year contract right now? Keenan Allen is what, 30?
I think he's 30, 31, something like that.
In that ballpark, and Eckler's 28.
Yep.
Who would you rather give a 4-year, $50 million contract to? Personally, for you.
Honestly, with what you just said, and since we've looked at the running back market and stuff, with that contract you just gave me, I'd give to Austin Eckler just because that contract don't even make him the highest paid running back still. He'd be second. Yeah. And that's kind of what my next thing was going to be to you is, the guy that just got drafted this year that you were so high on and happy he's in Atlanta, and I think he's going to be good. I do. But he's the highest paid running back in the NFL right now. And to me, that just shouldn't be a thing just because, he's never touched the field in the NFL, and this guy's the highest paid running back in the NFL right now. That's kind of where I guess you can see it from the running back's point of view again, where these guys see their contract and they see this guy get drafted and go, well, this guy makes more than me, has never touched the NFL field.
Well, I think he's going to earn that this year, honestly. But, I get where you're coming from. But, man, I think Atlanta's doing something nice.
Yeah. I really do. But then I guess my only other argument for the running backs is, some of these teams got wide receiver 3s making more than they are. And that wide receiver 3 isn't touching their production.
I was about to say that, Christian.
That's my big thing. It's just these running backs have the production, they get it, and it's just where their contracts sit as a whole right now and their best base pay. You can't pay them just because, it's kind of like, I get a new car for, we could say, $50,000, and that's how much all the new cars cost. Then another company comes out and got one for $75,000. You're going to buy the ones that are all $50,000 instead of $75,000 just because it's, all of them are new cars, brand new, but why get the one that's going to cost the most expensive?
Yeah, the other one might have a few more features, but are you sacrificing that for,
Yeah. What do you have the figures per year basis for those running backs, Christian?
I believe.
No, what I have up right now is your top pay running backs.
What's
all together?
What's the money look like with those?
It's like the 13. Money. Is he 13 this year, I believe?
So Bijan's 13, Christian is 12. Alvin Kamara's 11. Barkley's 11. And then Aaron Jones is 10. Is your like top 5 guys right there.
That's crazy, man. Devontae
Hey.
Parker.
Yeah.
Signed with New England for a 2-year, $11 million contract, bro. Devontae Parker, who had played 4 games in 2021 for Miami.
I mean, Odell hasn't played in almost 2 years, and he got a 1-year prove-it deal for $18 million.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. But, like, at least he's good.
I mean, but is he as
Parker.
valuable? Is he as valuable a player as a Christian McCaffrey? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, like it's.
Yeah.
I feel like Christian should be paid more than Odell Beckham Jr., but it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It
So like
is.
now on this other page I have pulled up right now, it's like you're pretty much from if they're an active running back, their total earnings. And I mean, this list in front of me blows my mind, like just the top 10. But I don't want to go through it, but I'll give you like a couple that are like mind blowing. So like David Johnson is number 3 on this list of total earned for running backs. Number 5, granted he's been in the league for a while, so I'll go with somebody that don't have that many years. It's like Kenyon Drake is number 10 on this list. And then you have Melvin Gordon, which thanks to my team, we paid him and paid the price, and that's why we don't want to pay Austin Eckler, honestly. Then after that, you have, Cordell Patterson, but he's been in the league for 10 years. So, really your top 2 guys is Chris McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, then Barkley's at 4.
Chubb.
And then, Nick Chubb is at 12. His total earnings is $23 million. Behind him is like Jerick McKinnon, but been in the league for 9. So like for the 5 to 6 range, we're looking at like Austin Eckler's 14, Kareem Hunt, and Rashad Penny is your 7 and 18. And then like James Conner's one that blows my mind. Everybody seen him get that deal in Arizona and thought it was like a crazy deal for him. He's number 20 in top earnings on this list.
He's not a top 20 back, I can tell you that.
Yeah. But even like Josh Jacobs, what he's done like in the NFL for his like where he's at right now, for playing 4 years in the NFL and taking the beating that he took last year, he's only made $12 million.
That was mostly rookie contract, though. He's about to get his
it's
payday.
just whole rookie. I don't think he is though, Brian. It's kind of what we're having this whole pod really
he's gonna
for.
get paid from somebody more than he was getting paid on his rookie deal.
Yeah,
I hear you, but
as a team, it's going to be a dumb decision. I think that's what we on that, and we love Josh Jacobs, the player.
Yeah.
We love his game and everything about him. But as far as just team building aspect, why are you paying that much in a position like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Then another guy that kind of surprised me on this list is like Jamal Williams. Granted, he just got, I guess you could say, his payday. But, he's been in the league for 6 years and only made $10 million.
Yeah.
Granted, he was drafted in round 4. So, that's why he hadn't made his money. But
yeah, he was never arguably like a lead back either. Like some of these guys that are high up there on the career earnings mark, they're at least the lead back at some point. I think you said Kenny Drake, he was up there. He had a time where he's a lead back in a couple different places, but last year he was like, that's what we're saying with the fall off. Like we remember this guy taking the kickoff against Alabama Clemson national championship game. That does not feel like that long ago. You can speak to this as a Clemson fan, Christian. Like that game doesn't feel that long ago. He's already been a good NFL running back and fallen off last season. He was on the Ravens roster. There was 3-4 other running backs getting more important touches than him ahead of him. That just the shelf. And it's
I remember getting great in Miami.
Then I guess my last 2 guys I'll name on this, and I got something for Chase, is like for the big one that blows my mind is you have like guys like Jonathan Taylor and then like Javonte Williams. Both of these guys, like Jonathan Taylor sitting at $6 million and then Javonte Williams sitting at $5 million. They both done had like big injuries in their career already. And one's been in the league for 2 years, one's been in the league for 3. So, that's where I guess these running backs can argue even more that, they take bigger hits than any other position. And then my kind of thing I wanted to
pay him, though.
Yeah, but the team's putting them through it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to pay if you're going to put it through.
Position.
Yeah, I
I
hear
mean,
you, but I
and then
just
you could draft somebody in the 7th round and put them through it, and they'll be glad about it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
but
like
that's
Yeah.
where I was going to ask Chase because he's kind of been through it. And I mean, you're a Miami fan that you kind of have too in a way. When your top running back goes down, I know definitely Chase has seen. I mean, y'all had Devontae Freeman or something like that out there, and then
Oh
you had some
yeah,
other guys that 1 year. And I
it was
mean,
bad.
your running game was how good?
Oh, and this is coming
And
off, mind you,
that's
coming
yeah,
off a run centric, like historic making rushing record offense built around Lamar Jackson. Our top two guys and J.K. and Gus Edwards go down, and the rushing attack, the line even arguably got better. The offensive line, nothing changed. The running back, the rushing attack that season was way down, and that's a game you have to play, I guess, but I mean, how often are you going to have? That was just a
yeah.
historically bad injury year
My
for the Ravens. Uh,
my little thing that I was just gonna add to that is like y'all are saying these running backs are so easy to find, but when those top guys do go down and they're so easy to find, you can't find them.
I'll say
depends on the system.
in the draft, they are very easy. You can draft really good running backs late in NFL drafts. Finding veteran like production level, like there's a reason the veterans bounce around. Like they're not you trust them to know the plays and maybe pick up blocking assignments and not fumble the football, which is what we kind of did that year with was it who was the guy on the Saints he went back to the Saints last year, the running back
Murray.
Murray.
Yep.
Him and Freeman, that's what all those guys did that season. They were there to block and don't fumble.
Yep.
And when you have your top guys go down to injury and you have to dig into that market, it's going to be bad production. But if you get ahead of it and you draft one or two guys or a late round running back every couple years, you're set up. Like they're going to be a good player.
Basically, the San Francisco approach of the last couple of years before Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, 6th round pick. And in that system, you could pretty much find any back off the street, and they're going to give you production within reason, of course. And
Yeah.
but for sure, man, for sure.
Well, I mean, that's all I got on it. We've kind of exhausted this. I didn't really expect to go this long on this pod
I didn't
with
either.
this with episode, but it's a huge talking point right now. I mean, it's justified in how both sides are feeling on whether or not these guys should be getting paid. And I think we did a pretty good job of seeing it from both sides. Y'all have anything you want to add to it?
No, I
Nah,
think that's a
you go ahead,
all
Brian.
right. Well,
Let's wrap this up, Brian.
all right. Well, we're going to continue with our series about diving into each of our individual teams and kind of doing a Q&A to kind of get, Baltimore, in this case, Chase's opportunity to kind of speak on his favorite team. We're all very plugged into the NFL, but even more so to our own teams. So that's our next episode. We plan on releasing that on Monday. But thank you guys for joining us here to talk about the running back market, and hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.